The wreck was impossible to miss. The starship lay broken in a wasteland of red dust and jagged stone, its hull torn like a carcass stripped bare. Smoke still coiled from the wreckage, staining the thin sky with trails of black. For miles nothing stirred, no sound but the hiss of cooling metal and the whisper of desert winds. Elias, a human engineer exiled from the great spacefaring guilds, stood at the ridge above the crash site. His goggles reflected the burning wreck, but his eyes focused on what lay within. He had been living alone for years on this forgotten planet, scavenging metal from old probes and satellites. He thought he'd seen everything, but nothing prepared him for the survivor he found among the twisted ruins. She was not human, tall with pale silver skin that shimmered faintly in the sun, and eyes that seemed too vast to belong to a mortal being. Her name, he would later learn, was Lyra of the Ethrin. She had dragged herself clear of the wreck, bleeding from a deep wound along her side, yet still radiating the quiet dignity of a commander. "Stay back," she warned as Elias approached. But her strength faltered, and she collapsed into his arms. In that moment his life shifted. Elias carried her back to his makeshift shelter, an outpost of steel and sand hidden in the cliffs. For days, he tended to her wounds with crude but effective tools. She healed quickly, her body adapting with strange resilience. When she could finally speak more than a few words, she told him about her ship, the Erinder's Grace. It had not simply been a vessel. It was her home, her legacy. She was its captain, and beyond that, a guardian of her people's last pilgrimage. They were searching for a new star system, far beyond the borders of known human space. But now, with the ship crippled, the mission was lost. "You can repair it," she said one night as the firelight flickered across her silver eyes. Elias laughed bitterly. "Do you know what you're asking? That ship is beyond ruin." Yet something in her gaze, defiance, hope, perhaps both, ignited something dormant in him. Once, long ago, he had been the youngest prodigy in the guilds, a master of propulsion and stellar drives. But arrogance had cost him everything. He had been cast out, left to rot on forgotten worlds. Now, staring at her, he felt the old fire return. He agreed. For weeks, Elias threw himself into the work. The Erinder's Grace was shattered in ways that would terrify any sane mechanic. Its engines gutted, its navigation core split, its wings torn from the hull. But where others saw impossibility, Elias saw a challenge worth his exile. He stripped the desert for resources, melted down fragments of old probes, salvaged parts from satellites buried in sand. With welding sparks flying in the darkness, he rebuilt piece by piece. Lyra worked beside him, her hands steady, her voice guiding. She knew nothing of human engineering but carried ancient star maps in her memory. Whispering navigation equations he scribbled onto sheets of scrap metal. Together they labored until their bodies shook with exhaustion. In the quiet moments when the tools lay silent, they spoke of their lives. Elias told her of Earth's decay, how greed had bled oceans dry and left cities gasping beneath gray skies. He told her of betrayal, of how his inventions were stolen, his name erased, his voice silenced. Lyra told him of the Ethrin, a people who once soared freely across galaxies but now faced extinction as their suns withered. Her mission had been sacred, to find a star cluster that could cradle their dwindling generations. "You carry too much alone," Elias said one evening as they sat on the broken hull, stars glimmering faintly above. "So do you," she replied. A bond grew, forged not from survival alone but from something deeper. At last, months later, the ship stood whole again. Elias had not just repaired it. He had remade it. The hull gleamed with scavenged alloys. The engines hummed with a strange hybrid power of human design and Ethran resonance. When Lyra touched the console, the ship came alive with light. She turned to Elias, awe in her eyes. "You've given me back the stars." He forced a smile. "Then go. Find your people. Fulfill your mission." But the smile did not reach his heart. For he knew when she left, she would be gone forever, and he would return to silence and sand. The conflict. The day of departure came. The Erinder's grace stood ready, its wings spread wide like a bird reborn. Lyra walked to the ramp, her steps slow, her gaze heavy. Elias stood back, arms crossed, pretending to be the stoic builder who had no stake in what came next. But she did not ascend. Instead she turned, her voice quiet but unshaken. "I cannot leave." Elias blinked. "What?" "I was meant to search the stars," she said. "But in repairing this ship, you showed me something I had not known existed. A place where I am not captain or exile, but simply Lyra. You gave me more than a vessel. You gave me a reason to stay." His heart pounded. "But your people, your mission, they will find their way," she said, stepping closer. "But I will not abandon mine. My mission has changed." Confusion warred with longing inside him. All his life, he had been the one left behind, the one discarded. To hear her choose him felt unreal, like a dream breaking open inside his chest. "Lyra, if you stay, you may never see your stars again." "Then let me see them through you," she whispered. Ending. They did not dismantle the Erinder's grace. Instead they transformed it. No longer a ship bound for distant worlds, it became a haven in the desert, a living home of steel and light. Its engines, once meant to pierce galaxies, now powered a sanctuary beneath the red skies. Together, Elias and Lyra charted a different course. They repaired satellites to light the night with shifting constellations. They built gardens from hydroponic chambers, coaxing green life from barren stone. Elias would often joke, "I repaired the stars for you," when he adjusted the satellites to shimmer brighter. She would answer, "And I refused to leave your side." Years passed. Word spread of a strange oasis in the wasteland, where a human exile and an alien captain lived in harmony. Wanderers came seeking shelter, scholars came seeking wisdom, and slowly, the forgotten planet began to bloom. Elias found redemption not in returning to the guilds but in building something greater than recognition, a place where broken lives could be mended, as surely as he had mended the wreck. And through it all, Lyra never wavered. She had been given back the stars, but chose instead the man who repaired them. Their story became legend, not of war nor conquest nor galaxies claimed, but of two exiles who found in each other what neither the stars nor the void could ever give.